Football has always believed one simple truth. The louder the stadium, the stronger the home team. For decades, roaring crowds were called football's 12th man. They inspired attacks. They intimidated opponents. They created unforgettable moments. Then, for the first time in modern football history, the noise disappeared. Empty stadiums looked like a nightmare for the sport. Fans believed football had lost its soul. But something unexpected happened. Defenders didn't become weaker. They became better. The silence revealed a hidden layer of football that most supporters had never noticed. Because the greatest defenses aren't built on passion. They're built on communication. Today, we're uncovering the forgotten lesson that changed modern defending forever. Chapter 1. The myth of the 12th man. Every football fan has heard the phrase, "The crowd carried them." Home support has always been viewed as an invisible advantage. The louder the fans, the stronger the defense. It sounds logical. Until silence arrived. When stadiums emptied, analysts expected defenders to lose intensity. Instead, many defensive units became remarkably organized. Not because players suddenly became faster or stronger, but because they could finally hear one another. Football had accidentally removed one of its biggest distractions. And in doing so, it exposed the true engine behind elite defending: communication. Chapter 2. The secret language of defenders. Great defending isn't silent. It never has been. The best backlines constantly speak. Step. Drop. Left. Hold. Man on. These aren't random words. They're split-second commands. A goalkeeper directs the defensive line. A center back adjusts positioning. A fullback warns of an overlapping runner. Every instruction changes the shape of the team. Normally, much of that communication disappears beneath 60,000 screaming supporters. But in empty stadiums, every voice became crystal clear. Defenders weren't reacting later. They were reacting together. And football suddenly looked less chaotic and more like choreography. Chapter 3. When four players become one mind. Elite defending isn't four individuals. It's one moving organism. The greatest defensive lines shift together, press together, retreat together, hold together. That synchronization depends on timing. And timing depends on communication. Without crowd noise, goalkeepers became conductors. Center backs became directors. Every adjustment traveled instantly across the back line. Offside traps became sharper. Zonal marking became cleaner. Recovery runs became faster. The silence didn't improve athleticism. It improved connection. Football wasn't becoming quieter. It was becoming clearer. Chapter 4. The psychology of hearing. Sports psychologists understand something fascinating. The brain performs better when unnecessary information disappears. In football, crowd noise is emotionally powerful. But emotionally powerful doesn't always mean tactically useful. Elite defenders process hundreds of decisions every minute. Where is the runner? Who's pressing? Who covers? Who's tracking back? When communication becomes difficult, the brain fills gaps with assumptions. Assumptions create hesitation. Hesitation creates mistakes. Silence removed those gaps. Players trusted their ears. And their decisions became faster. Not because pressure disappeared, but because clarity increased. Chapter 5. The legacy that never left. The crowds eventually returned. The noise returned. Football returned. But something had permanently changed. Coaches realized communication wasn't optional. It was essential. Training sessions became louder. Leadership became more valuable. Goalkeepers were encouraged to command constantly. Center backs were expected to organize every movement. Modern defending now places as much value on the voice as the tackle. Because football discovered something unexpected. The strongest defensive units aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the ones that communicate the best. The next time you watch an elite defense, don't just watch the tackles. Watch the conversations. Watch the pointing. Watch the constant instructions. Watch how one command moves an entire back line. Because football's greatest defenses aren't built on instinct. They're built on trust. And trust begins with communication. Maybe that's the biggest lesson football accidentally learned during its quietest era. Sometimes, the loudest advantage is silence.